So the moment the invoices get accepted after the bidding is done, the invoices on that particular exchange gets locked. So that means there is a dedupe mechanism which is set up between the three banks. It's a blockchain mechanism which we have. It ensures that the invoices are not financed doubly on any other platform.
This is episode number 15 of MSME Talk on invoice discounting on TReDS with Ketan Gaikwad, the Managing Director and CEO of Receivables Exchange of India Limited. Welcome back to MSME Talk Podcast. MSME Talk Podcast is for micro, small, medium enterprises, startups and entrepreneurs, in which we discuss with industry experts and experienced entrepreneurs on specific value addition guidance and solve queries to help build long-lasting businesses. Mr. Ketan Gaikwad, the Managing Director and CEO of Receivables Exchange of India Limited, RXIL, is a seasoned banker with a career spanning 29 years in public as well as private sector banks, from Bank of Baroda to Barclays Banks and Standard Chartered Bank. Receivables Exchange of India Limited is a TReDS platform. It is mandated by Reserve Bank of India as a joint venture of SIDBI and National Stock Exchange, along with State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, and Yes Bank being other shareholders. MSMEs, which contribute to 30% of the GDP of India, along with 11 crore jobs and 45% of the export in India, have always been struggling for smooth cash flow. Payment delays for MSMEs is a huge problem, and there are no easy solutions for that. Government and RBI have been trying to bring some solutions since few years. TReDS is one of them. Introduced in 2014 by RBI under governorship of Raghuram Rajan to ease the working capital crisis for MSMEs impacted due to delayed payment issues. TReDS stands for Trade Receivable Discounting System. It is digital invoice discounting mechanism for MSMEs. In this episode, let's know the need of TReDS, how TReDS is benefiting MSME sellers, corporate buyers and financiers, how the process happens on TReDS, how the risk is controlled, what's the future of TReDS, why it is must platform for all MSMEs, corporate buyers and financiers, and a lot more in the detailed discussion with none other than CEO and MD of RXIL, Ketan Gaikwad. Let me welcome Ketan on the show now. A very warm welcome, Ketan, on MSME Talk Podcast to tell our listeners about invoice discounting on the TReDS platform.
Thank you, Tripti. Excited to be here. Looks interesting.
So, Ketan, we would like to know a little more about your journey and how you're contributing to MSME sector and something related to TReDS.
Okay, so just to talk about my journey, I've been a MNC banker and for the major part of my career. And when the opportunity came in to join TReDS or the RXIL platform, I quickly grabbed the opportunity. And talking about TReDS, it's a digital discounting platform which we'll talk much about later. But it's a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE, and it's a RBI regulated platform. Which is bringing about a change in the way the liquidity is managed for the MSMEs for the last 5 years.
Your complete focus has been on MSMEs since last couple of years. That's great. I'm sure we are going to learn a lot in this session with you. So, Ketan, we would like to, basically move on to the main section of our episode today, which is related to the TReDS. Now, let's understand from the basic, what is TReDS? Is it a mediator? Is it a broker? Is it an exchange? It's a platform? Is it just a regulation by the government or some scheme? What is RXIL's role in relation to TReDS?
Yeah, so to give the TReDS basically is an acronym. So, it's a short form for Trade Discounting, Receivables Discounting System. It's basically an online platform which is facilitating the discounting of the receivables for the MSMEs. This is a platform where the MSMEs can discount, can upload the invoices, and they can once the documents are accepted, once the invoices are accepted, then the bids can be placed by the financiers, and once the financiers have placed the bids, and once it is accepted by the MSME, then the MSMEs get easy liquidity within the next 24 hours. And to talk about Receivables Exchange India Limited, which is RXIL, it's a first platform for India, which is the first TReDS platform which has been given the license by RBI in 2016.
Okay, so you are saying TReDS is basically a online platform for facilitating MSMEs in case of receivable discounting. Now, RXIL is one of the TReD platform.
Absolutely, yeah. So there are three platforms which are there. So RXL is the first platform, yeah.
Okay, got it. So can we just equate it in a very simple language, just like stock exchanges are there for shares buy and sell. So they are exchanges and they are NSE, they are BSE and there are other local. So similar to that, TReDS is one of the platform and there are various players in that.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So now you were using the word receivable discounting while defining the TReDS platform. Can you just little bit tell in simple language what is receivable discounting and how does it work?
Yeah, so just to talk about basic plain language, what is exactly receivables purchase or receivables for any particular organization or any particular MSME. So you see, when the MSME starts this business, they sell the goods to the corporates, or they sell the goods to the other person. So the money which is supposed to be received as a consideration for that particular receivable or for that particular goods which are sold, or the services which are sold, are called as receivables. Now this is something which is receivable by the seller from the buyer, and the discounting on those receivables is called as receivables discounting.
So the word discounting here means, is there some kind of a discount? How does layman would understand this?
So sometimes, see, when you sell the goods to the buyer, or when sometimes when the large corporate buyers are there, they don't immediately make the payment, or they don't make the payment in advance. So sometimes you have to wait, and that waiting period is called as a credit period. That means you sell the goods today, you might receive the payment after 30 days or 45 days or 90 days. So that is the receivables credit period which is there. So to receive the money early in advance, when you receive the money in advance, there is some financial cost which is there, which is debited by the financier, and that is called as discounted period. So you get the amount which is discounted, and that's why it is called as receivables discounting. So the money which is due after 90 days, you receive it on the third or the fourth day. So you receive it off by deducting some interest, which is the finance cost.
Yes. So example of I would give, say, 100 rupees cost of product I have sold. If I am using the receivable discounting mechanism, then this 100 rupees, instead of after 90 days, I can receive it in say 3 to 4 days from a financer. And instead of 100 rupees, I might receive say 95 or 97, whatever be the cost implied by the financer, reducing that, and the remaining money I will receive it. So basically it solves a problem of receiving cash in my hand at very early level, and I can use that money to put in my business again for my next other orders, rather than waiting 90 days to receive my money and move ahead for my other orders.
Absolutely, you said it very correctly. You've very simplified the term receivables discounting, because what happens normally is that rather than waiting for me waiting for 90 days, if I get the money early, I can immediately put it into the business. Or I see what happens is when an MSME is supplying the goods to the buyers, he does not have the ready money, so he has to go to his bank and he has to take a loan. And he will take a loan till the time he receives the payment from the buyer. So just imagine that he is supposed to get the payment after 90 days, so he is out of cash till that time. So if he receives the cash early, he can go to his bank, which has charged him for those 90 days period, and he can easily liquidate that loan and again take a fresh loan, or again procuring another further order. So he can multiply his order processing 3 to 4 times at least in that period.
Right. So basically his working capital cycle also improves this way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So now since on TReDS, there are 3 platforms and one of is your platform. So could you share a little more about what is a brief history, some numbers like what is the total discounting happening on an average every month on your platform, and some similar, other platforms?
So, just to talk about RXIL, Receivables Exchange India Limited, was started in 2016 as a joint venture between SIDBI and NSE, with State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, and Yes Bank. as the shareholders, as you know, and we are a regulated entity where we have received the approval from RBI in 2015, 2016 to start the company. So RXIL went live with the first transaction in 2017, January. To talk about the volumes which RXIL is doing, we are currently doing around 1,500 crores of volumes per month, and we are targeting that we should, in the month of March 2022, we should be in the region of 1,800 to 2,000 crores this month.
So gradually you are increasing the run rate every month.
Absolutely.
How's the growth has been in last 3 to 4 years?
See, when we got started in 2017, the volumes had not picked up, or basically this concept was something which was very new. So, as any reaction which is expected from the financiers or for the buyers of the sellers, it was expected over here in RXIL or the TReDS platform also. But the growth has been significant in the last 1 year. Just to talk about RXIL, in 2019-20, we clocked volumes of around 2,300 crores in 2019-20. But in 2020-21, we clocked around 6,500 crores. From 2,300 crores, we moved to 6,500 crores. So we reached around, it was a 180% growth, which is a phenomenal growth. And it was not expected during COVID time, but actually we got a fantastic response from the corporates, because COVID times actually enabled the corporates to realize the importance of TReDS and how it is important for the MSMEs, and that's where the corporates wanted to support, and that's how the volumes have grown in the last 1.5 month, 1 year.
This March 2022, how much you are expecting to grow?
We are expecting, so from 6,500 crores, we'll be easily crossing 13,000 crores. So we are double the volumes from 6,500 crores
13,000.
to
Oh,
30,000 crores. And the next year, the target is again bigger one.
I'm sure you are taking aggressive target, and I'm sure there's a lot of scope in the business.
Yeah.
Great. So now let's moving to our next question, which is related to what was the need of a platform TReDS? Why did it come into existence? What are the bets that government took, and Raghuram Rajan suggested it? And
See, if you look at the current scenario of MSMEs, and rightly said by the present government, which talks about that the MSMEs are the backbone of the the Indian economy, where the current MSMEs are contributing to 30% of India's GDP, and 50% of exports also are contributed by MSMEs. And rightly so, in today's scenario, the government is focusing more on MSMEs because they are the biggest employment generators. And currently we have around 6.5 crores MSMEs contributing to around 11 crore jobs in India. And the target of the government is that to make it a $5 trillion economy, the MSMEs have to contribute from 30% to, it should jump to at least 50% of India's GDP. And that's why there is a focus on MSMEs. So if the MSMEs are so important, why is it that the MSMEs are not, are facing issues? There was an article which was written by Times of India that MSMEs are getting choked by dues, by their own dues, which they are receivables from the large corporates or the government institutions. So the MSMEs, despite being very important for the economy, they are not getting the payment on time. And that exactly exacerbates the problem, or rather increases the problem that they are not able to grow, because the funds are not available for them for their working capital. So this problem has been there for a long time. It's not only available, it's not about India, but it's all across the world, that when you are an MSME, the corporates have a patriarchal or patronizing attitude, that I will decide, if I'm a large corporate, when you should supply the goods to me, and I only will decide when I will make the payment to you, despite being the fact that I have to make the payment to you on time.
yep.
So this problem was noticed, that the MSMEs are not getting payment on time. So there was a concept of electronic exchange, was one suggestion given by in the report called as 100 Small Steps by the Financial Sector Reforms Committee in 2008. And further to that, there was a lot of study which went on. There was a delegation which went across to Mexico. There was some platform over there on which the NAFIN platform was there, on which the Indian TReDS, it's a different one, but it's still concept is coming from there. So that's how the SIDBI and NSE came together, and that's how the work group was set up. And the RBI came out with the guidelines in 2014, and in 2016 the final guidelines came on TReDS, on setting up the TReDS exchanges. And Basically, the TReDS in the current form is basically the brainchild of RBI, Reserve Bank of India, and Government of India. So, what is basically what is TReDS platform? So, TReDS platform is nothing but it's a end-to-end digital platform which reduces the paperwork. So, basically, there is the documents which are flowing are completely digital. The transaction process is smooth, and the payment which is being made to the MSME is completely on the next day. So within 24 hours the payments happen to the MSMEs in case the documents are accepted by the buyer and the financing is done by the financier. So end to end 24 hours the MSME receives the payment. So what are the benefits which the MSME receives? The MSME receives the payment in 24 hours. The money which is received by the MSME is without recourse, and its liquidity is pure cash. And consider that when an MSME wants to start business, and when he has got a corporate order, he has to go to a bank and he has to take a loan, and the loan is given to them against a security or a collateral, and against that they're given a loan which is not even suffices to the requirement of the order player making the order. So then here is a platform where you have the MSME has access to the multiple financiers who are vying for that particular invoice which is accepted by the buyer, and especially when the buyer is a good rated corporate on the other side. It is also lower the cost for the MSME. So compare it to the normal collateral based funding which the MSME undergoes, it is around 10 to 12% in today's world. If he's supplying to a high rated corporate, the rate would be somewhere around in the region of 5 to 6%. As far as the financier is concerned, they got the access to the broader market. Then this whatever happens on the TReDS platform, whatever financing happens is accretive, with PSL accretive, and it reduces the operational cost for the financiers also. As far as the buyer is concerned, the see what happens to the buyer is it improves his cash flows. It ends up enhancing the procurement terms. When I'm talking about enhancement of procure terms, in the sense the buyers know that when the MSMEs are receiving the payment in 90 days, they are actually loading that particular cost. So if they come on the TReDS platform and if the supplier receives the payment early as possible, that the buyer can negotiate the terms again with the supplier. So that's what we have seen in most of the relationships with the buyer has with the supplier.
So you have in fact given a broad perspective, MSMEs, financiers, and buyers. In hearing it seems very simple. We'll go in the discussion further in detail so that we can have more clarity. So is this platform available only for MSMEs? Because discounting can be done by anyone, right?
Yeah, currently the platform is currently available only for MSMEs, where MSMEs are the sellers. So we are in talks with RBI to see whether we can also offer this particular platform for non-MSMEs also.
Okay, you have seen increase in the number of discounting happening on TReDS platform in last few years. But what about the benefit which MSME receiving? Are you seeing some changing happening in the ecosystem of MSMEs with the use of TReDS?
What we do is normally we take the feedback from the MSMEs also. So just to give a classic example, there was a large PSU which got registered on the TReDS platform, South based. It's basically a all India PSU, and they started doing transactions for the South unit, and it was facilitated by the association of MSMEs over there. And within a period of 6 months, some 300 crores of discounting had happened on the TReDS platform. We received a letter from the association saying that they have saved around 3 to 4 crores in the interest part alone. The MSMEs have saved interest to the tune of 3 to 4 crores. Plus, at the same time, the liquidity which is there, which is easily available to the MSME. The moment you supply the goods, you come on the platform, you receive the discounted amount, you receive the amount, and that amount can be again put back into the business to you process more orders. So that itself is a growth story for the MSME. So we have seen that the MSMEs are very happy, whichever MSMEs on the come on the TReDS platform, because you're getting easy liquidity, you're getting immediate cash, it is there. So we have seen even discounting happening for even 2 or 3 days. So that is what it is, because because see, most of the time the MSMEs have to follow up. There was a survey which was conducted and which very clearly said that MSMEs are small organizations, and if the proprietor starts wasting his time on follow up with the buyers to get his payment, then you can imagine how much time is getting wasted over there, and that amount is he now investing into his business, and that is very important. At the same time, since it's a digital platform, the reach to the MSMEs has really expanded. So we have around MSMEs all across the country, and this ensure that the MSMEs are receiving the payment. So although the MSME might be sitting somewhere in Trivandrum and he's supplying the goods to the corporate sitting in Delhi, and he's receiving the payment without having to depute someone, or you have to call someone to get his payment over there. So that itself has fueled growth, and we've seen that actually the MSMEs are quite happy about the way the TReDS have expanded, or rather the TReDS have reached out to the MSMEs all across India.
That's interesting. It's a very important point you've mentioned. MSMEs usually face this problem of too much work on the small team. And here, if they put it in the kind of automation process that invoice is uploaded on the TReDS approved, then they don't need to follow up until unless some major issues happens. Okay, otherwise, so you need to follow up only when you are uploading so that your buyer is aware that you are uploading the invoice. But yeah, very important point. And it also, recovering the money and getting cash in hand for this product or service you have provided is one of the very big challenge for any business owner. And if you are solving that problem, major part of the business is solved. And great. So now MSMEs, if we understand from the Indian perspective where MSME definition is there, they are very broad segment, like revenue wise, industry wide, zero earning or say 10 lakh rupee earner is also an MSME, maybe a micro category, but 250 crore turnover is also an MSME. Okay. So which segment of MSMEs are benefiting or could benefit for the platform? Is it available for all, or is it available for particular section?
So currently the MSMEs, the MSMEs which are supplying in the B2B space, those MSMEs are eligible, or these MSMEs can come on the TReDS platform, because let's understand one thing, that the financiers are taking the risk not on the MSME, but they're taking the risk on the buyer to whom the supplier is supplying. So that's very important. So it is MSMEs who are in the B2B segment that they are supplying to the large corporates. They are available, they can come on the platform where they have the buyer on the other side. And up to, as what you said correctly, that up to MSMEs up to 250 crores can come on the TReDS platform of turnover. So if it is an MSME which is in the production of the goods or the sales or the services of the particular manufacturing sector, or any sector or any services sector, they can come on the TReDS platform, provided they have the buyer on the other side, and the turnover is 250 crores, up to 250 crores, as per the latest classification of MSMEs issued by the Government of India.
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying even if there is a small bill of say 20,000, that also can be get discounted, is it?
We have discounted invoices even for 100 rupees or less than that.
Oh, that would be some trial, I think, testing
No.
trial.
In fact, there are invoices which come on the platform which have ranged from 100 rupees to even 8 crore rupees also. So
Okay.
so they are getting invoiced, they are getting discounted on the TReDS platform.
Oh, oh, that's
So
nice.
there is no
That's
minimal amount for the invoice. It can be any
okay.
amount. Yeah.
That's nice. So now let's understand, how the transactions or trades work for, say, a new customer who has no knowledge of your RXIL or trades. Okay, how it would go ahead now. But I'm sure you're going to use some key terms which might not be very, very simple. So if you can just first highlight some of the key terms which we'll be speaking ahead.
See, the key terms for the MSMEs would be something like a factoring unit. What is a factoring unit? So factoring unit is nothing but it's a standard nomenclature which is used on the TReDS platform. Basically, it can be a single invoice or it can be multiple invoice. Another key term which is there is the buyer-seller link. The buyer-seller link is basically the linkage between the buyer and the seller. So that might be a scenario where the seller is selling to multiple buyers on the platform, but through this, you're connecting that seller to that particular buyer. And it has the terms like, it gives the complete details about the entire processing of TReDS platform. What is the cap rate? Who's going to bear the cost? And what is the number or tenor of the transaction? And all those things get captured over there. Then we also have a two-factor authentication, two levels of security. That means we first is by the Aadhaar-based verification, and then maybe a mobile-based, OTP-based factor verification is done. The third part is about the agreements. The master agreement is getting executed with the seller, and the buyer, as well as the financier. Then we take a letter of authorization. Letter of authorization is something which is for a proprietary firm, which gives that who is the authorizer for that particular transaction, who will be admin, who will be the person who will do the transaction. In case it's the partnership, then we take a partnership, declaration or whatever from the authorizer and the admin. We take a board resolution also. So these are the key terms which everyone has to ensure that they know about it, because it's normally it's BAU as far as the MSME is concerned, if it's a proprietary or a partnership firm. And when the customer comes on the platform, or when the MSME comes on the platform, he has to fill in some basic details like GST and his the SIN number and all that. Automatically, some data are directly pulled out by the digital from the digital space, from the digital stacks. And we have a digital platform wherein the most of the details, the moment you pull in the GST and number, the details are pulled up from the GST and network, or MCA network. So this is what it is, and then the onboarding process can get started over there.
The engagement of the MSME would be a two-level main. When is the person is getting onboarded on your platform, kind of a, say in simple language we say account opening process. Okay. And second is whenever their invoices are coming and they have to put across on your platform to receive the money. Okay, so we can begin with the first point. How does the process of registering or opening account on your platform happens? Could you just take us through that?
Yeah, so the TReDS platform primarily is a digital platform where where the three parties are involved. There are three participants on the platform. So one participant primarily is the seller, which is the MSME, as per the criteria by the government. So up to 250 crores turnover, the MSME can come on the TReDS platform. And the second one is a buyer who is buying the goods from the MSME. And the third party is the financier. So the financier also needs to get registered. So all these three parties have to get registered on the TReDS platform. They have a one-time agreement which needs to be executed. So every MSME has to execute a one-time agreement for once, and that agreement is only with the exchange. So the MSME gets registered, the buyer gets registered, and the financier gets registered. So this is a one-to-many or many-to-one platform kind of a scenario where there might be a one seller, MSME seller, who might be selling to many buyers, or there might be a buyer who's procuring from many sellers on the TReDS platform. So normally what happens is, since it is buyer driven, so the MSME comes on the platform when it is buyer who tells that he gets registered. Now, why should the buyer get registered on the TReDS platform? The government of India has made it mandatory that all the corporates above 500 crores turnover have to come on the TReDS platform. So that's why the corporates are coming and getting registered on the TReDS platform. Now the corporates also have their MSME ecosystem, which they refer it to us. And once they have referred them to us, we get them registered on the TReDS platform. Now, when we do the registration, what does that mean? We do the full KYC, because we are a regulated entity, and our KYC is, it's akin to almost opening an account with the TReDS platform, because as correctly said by you. So we do the full KYC. In that KYC, we execute the agreement, which is like an application form which he has to fill in. We can take the complete KYC details about who's going to operate, who are the authorized signatories who are going to operate the platform, and so on and so forth. So we have to do the full KYC of the platform, of the MSME. He gets registered by executing the agreement. And then second part is about the buyer also the same one, same thing, and the seller and the financier also the same thing. They have to get registered on the TReDS platform. And once that is done, now there is a buyer seller link which is created.
Let's take a quick break.
MSMEs and startups are looking for various kinds of support and upgrade. Are you a product service provider, expert, advisor, consultant, mentor for MSMEs and startups? Do reach out to MSME Talk to list your business. Check the link in the description.
So you have explained the first part, how to do the account opening process, right? So now we are going to move to the second part where their real invoicing, uploading, etc. is happening, and what are the terms. Okay. So now, Ketan, moving on to the second part of my question, where how the uploading of invoicing happens and the process related to that. So You have already explained to us there are three counterparties involved in it. And then moving on to the process where how the uploading of invoices and real discounting happens. Okay, so that's how the onboarding. And so what about when the real transaction happens? How does it?
Yeah, so the transactions, once the onboarding is done and once the registration is done and once the buyer seller link has been established, then the entire process of the discounting happens. So our relationship team will guide the MSME on how to do the transactions on the TReDS platform, how to upload the invoices, and then is the real story starts. So the MSME uploads the invoices on the TReDS platform. Then in the immediately as per the buyer seller link, it goes to the buyer who accepts those invoices. And once the invoices are accepted by the buyer, there is an acceptance required, because once it is accepted and once it is financed, the buyer cannot come back and say that, I cannot pay, or there are some issues with the goods or whatever it is. That's why the buyer's acceptance is very important. So once the buyer has accepted the invoices, it becomes a factoring unit and it becomes visible to the financier. Till that time, it is not visible. So once it is visible to the financier, now they're looking at the credit grade of the buyer. Now the financier starts bidding for it. So there are multiple financiers who like that corporate, who say that, I can take these invoices, I can bid for these invoices, I can finance those invoices. So they start quoting the rates. So there is a mechanism where the bidding happens. Someone will quote at 5.5, someone will quote at 5.4, or someone will quote at 5.7. So the financier, so the supplier has the option to choose whichever rate he wants. So tomorrow, normally, if you are the seller, you will choose the best rate. If you are going to bear the cost, you will choose the best rate as far as you are concerned. You'll take the minimal rate over there, and you take that rate. And then once you've done that, once you've done the acceptance of that particular factoring unit, which has been bid by the financier, then the next day the payment will happen to the supplier. Now, how the payment will happen to the supplier is by we debit the financier. There is a settlement mechanism happens wherein a debit goes to the financier and a credit happens to the supplier. Now, on the due date, we have a NACH mandate which has been taken from the buyer at the time of registration. So we do not wait for the buyer to make the payment. The debit goes to a debit authority has been given. So accordingly, a debit file goes to his account and debits his account, and the financier gets credited. So that's how the entire transaction happens within the realms of the TReDS.
Okay. While you were explaining that, I was thinking when you mentioned you take a mandate of Nash, which we can understand what Nash exactly is.
NACH is the NACH mandate is as the debit authority which has been given by the buyer to debit
Mhm.
his account on the particular due date. It's a debit
Okay.
authority. It's a
Okay. Fine.
clearinghouse, automated
Okay.
system.
Got it. Just like an EMI mandate if I am taking a home loan.
Yeah, earlier you used to give ECS. Now you end up giving NACH mandate, wherein they can debit your account on the particular for that particular EMI. They pull the money on their account. You don't have to pay.
So now you have explained to us that who buyers typically corporates, high-rated corporates can come. Okay. So anything else you would like to appraise related to buyers, corporate, government department who can make use of trades?
So the government has made it mandatory that any corporate above 500 crores turnover has to necessarily get registered on the TReDS platform. So they have to come on the TReDS platform and get started. If they have MSMEs from whom they are buying, then they should get registered and they should start the transactions.
Okay, got it. Is there any penalty involved here if corporate is not registering on trades?
As of now, no, but there is a follow-up going on from the Ministry of Corporate Affairs also. There is no
Okay.
penalty involved. But yeah, it's a compliance issue.
Compliance issue. Okay. So now, what about the finances? Here, there's a very big role financiers are playing because ultimately they are the one who is paying the money. So, which financiers are eligible to come on the platform? Is there some eligibility criteria for them?
So the TReDS guidelines have already specified the financials which can come on the platform. So currently there are scheduled commercial banks which can come on the TReDS platform. Which scheduled commercial banks involve the private sector, public sector, and the MNC banks which can come on the TReDS platform, as well as the NBFC factoring companies can come. But as per the latest factoring guidelines amendment, factoring act amendment, even the NBFCs also can come on the platform. So other NBFCs which need to take the certificate of registration from RBI, and they can also come on the TReDS platform for doing the factoring business on the TReDS platform. So now with the factoring act amended, you can see a whole lot of NBFC is also coming.
So now, Ketan, as of today, how many financiers would be registered on your platform?
We have around 49 financiers who have got registered. So 49 financiers includes the public sector, private sector, and MNC banks, as well as factory companies.
Okay, okay. And what will be the some ballpark number range of MSMEs registered on your platform?
Around 10,000 plus MSMEs are got registered. There are buyers around 800 to 900 buyers. 900 buyers have got registered on the TReDS platform. This includes even the PSUs. There is a government of Goa has also got registered on the TReDS platform.
Okay. So now, tell me if there's a corporate who is a foreign entity, because many of the MSMEs does exports. So one is export, one is maybe the foreign entities buying in India. So are these buyers eligible for trash platform? Can MSME discount those invoices also?
MSMEs, rather MNCs, which have set up foot in India and which have operations in India, they also have to come on the TReDS platform. So they can, any MNC which procures from MSMEs, they need to get registered on the TReDS platform. So they are eligible. They can come on the TReDS platform.
This is not eligible for export related.
Currently, the TReDS platform is only for domestic transactions. We are working on setting up an export platform also. We have got the approval from, or rather, I would say, we have got the approval for sandbox testing for doing the exports transactions, exports and imports transactions, international financing trade transactions in the gift city. So we are working on that particular platform also.
Okay, interesting that. So one thing I would like to know, Ketan here, how's the hand holding process done for MSME? Why I'm asking this reason being because nowadays everything is going on online platforms. So people have call centers or chat bots to their resorts. Most of the places we are talking to robots. Yeah, we don't have human outside, and we ask question A, they answer C because that's what. How is your platform working in case MSME who doesn't understand exactly to do the things and all?
So currently, it's not reached to that scale where you need to employ the chatbots or whatever. So what we have is we have training manuals. Plus, we also train the MSMEs on how to upload the invoices. So it's a very simple process where, and if you look at the platform also, it's very self-explanatory platform. So once you have explained it to the MSME, then he starts uploading the invoices. Or sometimes we give them the contact number of the relationship manager who's to be contacted, who can upload or we can help them in uploading these invoices. And we also, and the moment the MSME job is only to the extent of uploading the invoices, and the buyers get accepted. Once the buyer has accepted it, then he has to just wait for the payment. It is as simple as that.
The buyer, the corporate, gets how many days to repay?
So normally, as per the MSMED Act, the MSME has to receive the payment within 45 days. So see, as per the MSMED Act, the corporate has to make the payment to the MSME within 45 days.
Yeah.
So, and if it does not accept these invoices in 43 days, then we expire those invoices and the invoices go back to they get rejected or they get expired in the system. So now the MSME is unpaid till now. Then the invoices go back to the MSMEs and then MSME has to follow up separately with the corporate to make the payment.
So is it unaccepted? So you are saying the invoice is not accepted or invoice is no or the money is not paid.
Invoice is not accepted.
Okay.
If the invoice is not accepted, then the financing will not happen. Or there might be other cases also where the invoices are accepted by the buyer, but the financier is not willing to finance it because either his limits have got full or he might not be willing to take a further credit exposure on that particular buyer.
Okay.
There might be some news or where the credit rating
Yeah.
has gone down or something like that. So then
Yeah.
in such cases also these invoices get expired and those invoices are then go back to the supplier, and now the supplier has to take it up with the buyer to get his payment done.
Okay. So this is basically you're saying this can happen up to till 43rd or 44th day.
43rd day.
So okay. So maybe there could be some rare scenarios. The discounting might get delayed or might not happen till 43rd day.
Correct. But this also gives the advantage to the buyer. So in the case, what we have seen it in the COVID times that the buyers have extended their payment terms, where they're willing to make the payment up to 180 days. Where in the MSME receives the payment within the 35 days or 45 days, and then the corporate can make the payment on the 180th day or the extended period.
So they were getting extended time from the financer,
Correct.
but MSME was getting payment instead of 3 to 4 days, they were getting within say 30 days or so.
Yeah. So basically, see, let's say the MSME, what happens is, like, let's say the MSME is completely dependent on the corporate to receive the payment. Correct. Now, today, if the corporate is facing some liquid scenario or where the liquidity is not there with the corporate, he might not make the payment to the buyer, to the seller. So here is a scenario where he puts his invoices on the TReDS platform. The MSME gets the payment immediately, in the sense whenever it is
Mhm.
loaded, he gets the payment, and the corporate gets an extended period up to 135 days or 180 days.
Okay, got. So, do you see, any challenge in the acceptance process by the buyer? So, you have said that if buyer doesn't accept the invoice, what can happen to the buyer? Is it there some kind of a penalty?
See, usually the corporates have a well-defined mechanism, where the moment the invoices are made, then they wait for the goods to come to their go down or come to the warehouse, and they receive a GRN note. And once the GRN note is received, then the buyer, makes the accepts these invoices. But there are certain instances the buyer might not be interested in, coming on the and accepting the invoices on the platform. So whether the buyer gets penalized for that, as of now, no. Whether they can get penalized in the future date, possibility, yes. Whether the ministry is considering it, there is a possibility, because at the end of the day, look, the government is trying to see how can we ensure the buyers make the payment to the MSMEs. How can the buyers, the MSMEs get the payment on time? So that continues to be an issue, which is still waiting to be resolved.
Okay, so I'm sure something should come out of that. While interacting with MSMEs, we do hear various challenges they face. So one of the challenges they have mentioned is buyers discourages MSME to use TReDS platform as payment in 45 days as per the MSME Act clause becomes not formal, and their account gets debited after 45 days. So hence MSME don't come to TReDS for fear of losing that particular client. So what can be done about this?
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, MSME Talk listeners, hope you have not missed subscribing to our newsletter for the latest news, blogs, podcast updates. Check the link in the description. We don't spam your inbox, and hence we do have one of the highest rate of newsletter opening in the industry.
So look, the government is completely aware of the fact that they're trying to do something about it. So currently, what happens is that the buyer, it's completely dependent on the buyer to accept those invoices and make the payment. But what we have seen is the increased uptick of the TReDS platform in the last Corona scenario. In the Corona scenario, we saw that the corporates are willing to come on the TReDS platform to see how the MSMEs can get the payment on time. It also helped them in managing their own liquidity, because see, sometimes what happens that he has to make the payment on this side to the supplier, but whether he's realized his goods, whether he's realized the payment for his goods which he sold, right? So there was a scenario where the corporates had not received the payment because of the close down on the stops and close down on the many units and industrial units altogether. So but this platform got an opportunity, or they got an opportunity to extend the payment terms. So it's a win-win situation for both. But again, it's an issue which needs to be tackled by the government, that they have to make it mandatory, or to ensure that the corporates come on the TReDS platform and start doing the acceptance of the invoices, and and make the payment to the MSMEs.
Okay. So now, in case of financiers, are the financiers same across all platforms, or is there any exclusivity there?
No, the all the financiers are there on all the platforms, so they get registered. So what happens normally is, with the when it's new for any particular financier, then he gets registered on one or two platforms first to see how it is working, and once he finds that there is a great use case, so then they get registered on all the three platforms.
Okay.
Right now, all the financiers who are there on our platform, they are there on the other two platforms as well, and
Mm-hmm.
vice versa.
Okay. So now, what is the current rate of interest going on TReDS platform typically, at which invoices are getting discounted?
See, the current range is between 6% to 8.5%.
Okay.
The range.
Okay.
But there are large AAA rated corporates who can get the rates below 4.5% to 5%. And there would be triple B rated corporates who can get rates in the region of 8.5 to 9%. So the range is quite wide, but there are some exceptions where the large corporates, there is a huge competition between for large corporates invoices.
So they actually get it discounting it below 5% also.
Yeah, and that's a beneficial thing for the MSME.
Yes, yes. If they're supplying to the AAA client.
Correct.
So, on an average, what is the success rate of an invoice to get financed?
I would say around 90 to 95%.
Okay. So, does it really take up to 40 to 43 days, or typically in how many days a reward comes that invoice is accepted or not accepted?
Normally the average tenor of the time is 3 to 4 days, because it's dependent on the buyer accepting it or the
Okay.
financier, bidding for it. But normally what we have seen, it's become like a well-oiled machinery that once the corporates start doing the discounting and when the corporates start accepting the invoices, it normally happens on the same day itself. So if you ask me how many invoices get uploaded and the same invoices get discounted on the same day, it's hardly some cases where exceptions are there where the MSMEs invoices are not accepted by the buyer, or sometimes the financing is not happened for that particular invoice.
Okay. So, how are these financiers taking this risk on financing without recourse, which you mentioned earlier? They're not asking for any collateral or any security or something, and they're giving money to the MSME, and they're not even taking anything from the from the buyer also.
See, let us be very clear that, at the end of the day, what is getting financed? The end of
Mm-hmm.
the day, the supply chain is getting financed.
Mm-hmm.
And for any corporate or for any, company to sustain, it has to ensure that it has the list of suppliers, or it has the suppliers which supply to them. So very clearly that, the trade finance or the suppliers are the first priority for any corporate to ensure that, their payment is not disturbed. So the financiers are taking a credit risk on the large corporates or the corporates which are coming on the platform. So they see the credit worthiness of the corporate. If the corporate is low rated, then they might not be willing to take so much of risk. But when it is a top rated corporate, then they are willing to take a risk. At the same time, they also have a NSCH mandate. Now, NSCH mandate also is very clear that we have a debit authority from the corporate to, make the payment on the due date, to receive the payment on the due date. So that itself is it's a big thing for the financier. At the same time, let's also appreciate the fact that, on the due date, there is not a single day default day unless the corporate is going for some willful default, or the corporate is, not willing to pay or something like that. Otherwise, it ensures that, the corporates are ensuring that they have the payment on that particular due date when the account is getting debited on that particular due date. Because again, it follows the same default mechanism for any bank. Let's say, for an example, if you've done a bill discounting for a corporate on a particular due date, if the funds are not there on that particular due date, then it gets reported as an overdue bill, and it follows the same process of default mechanism where SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, and then NPA. So the same process gets reported, and the moment the default or the delay happens, and if it gets reported into SMA 0 or SMA 1, all the bankers to that particular corporate get intimated.
Mm-hmm.
So then, the credit team keeps a watch on that also.
Okay. So now, is there any kind of a limit to how many invoices can be financed on the TReDS platform for any particular MSME who is registered? Or is there any limit to the amount that MSME can get the discounting done? Is there something which finances puts a limit, or your platform puts a limit? And is there mechanism where MSME can log in and check it how much limit is available in their platform? How does it?
There is no such limit as such, so they can do any number of invoices on the platform, provided. Coming back to the amount of the invoices which can get discounted, the amount of invoices can get discounted from 100 rupees to, any amount which the MSME wants to put on the platform. But currently the limit is up to 1 crore. That limit of 1 crore, NACH mandate authority was given for 1 crore. Now that 1 crore has become 3 crores. So that is the maximum amount of that each invoice which can get billed over there on the TReDS platform.
Is there any kind of a dashboard available, visible to the MSME?
Yeah, he gets to know that how much, because there are certain times where the MSME's limits are also set up. For
Mhm.
example, a particular bank will say that, for any supplier, let's say if I have given for any bar, let's say if a bank has given a limit of 10 crores, so they might also have a cap for the supplier wise cap also. Supplier wise cap, in the sense they'll say a single supplier should not be more than 25%. So to
Okay.
ensure that there is no concentration risk on a particular supplier. So that kind of limits are also set up on a particular supplier for that particular buyer. Let's say if a buyer has got a 10 crores limits, then they will say 25% should not be there. No supplier should be exceeding 25 crores.
So will this number be visible to MSME on their screen, or they will come to know only after putting across the invoice, and then they will be said that they know you cannot get invoice discounted because this is a reason, or beforehand only they will be able to see this?
Beforehand only they will be able to see it.
That can impact that seller strategy also.
Sell a strategy to supply to that particular buyer.
Yes, yes. Okay, so that way you are actually providing a very good information to that seller.
Correct.
Does invoice discounting at your platforms impact the working capital limits which these MSMEs have with the banks?
See, it does not impact the working capital limit, but at the same time, we have to ensure as a regulated entity that there is no double financing which happens. For
Yeah.
example, he might have taken a drawing power against a certain set of receivables from that bank. So, what is ensuring? What do we do? So, we ensure that when the financing happens, the proceeds are credited to the working capital bank of the MSME.
Okay.
So the proceeds are routed to the working capital bank of the MSME to ensure that the bank is not deprived of the funds which are there for the discount. Otherwise, there
Yes.
might be a case of double financing which can happen where he's taking the financing.
Exactly. So my question was related to that only, that how we are ensuring that such kind of thing is not happening.
See, we don't take an NOC because getting an NOC might be a difficult task. But what we ensure is that when we are doing the due diligence of that particular supplier,
Yeah.
we ask for the banker's details.
Okay.
And if it's a CC and if he says no, I don't have a bank, then we'll say okay, fine. If it's a current account which you need to be credited, then you please give us a chartered accountant certificate that you have not drawing from any working capital banker. But most of
Hmm.
the time, see, any supplier or any MSME would definitely have a banking arrangement.
Yes.
He would
And
have a banking arrangement where he's
uh,
drawn the working capital.
yes, and there could be multiple banks also. They might not
Correct.
be a consortium. So that could be. Mhm.
Yeah, so to be ensure that we always check his account statement to see that there's a CC account or a cash, OD
Yeah,
account or whatever, and we ensure that the funds go to that particular account.
got it. Can MSME seller go to all three trades platform with the same invoice at the same time in hope of whoever does the funding fast?
Yeah, see, the three exchanges are, they can go to all the three sellers and to all the three exchanges, and he can load these invoices on the three platform. But the beauty of the thing is that, we have a dedupe mechanism set up between the three exchanges. So the moment the invoices get financed, or the moment the invoices get accepted on one particular invoices after the bidding is done, then the other two exchanges get the invoices on that particular exchange gets locked. So that means there is a dedupe mechanism which is set up between the three banks. It's a blockchain mechanism which we have. So it ensures that the invoices are not financed doubly on any other platform. If it is financed on my platform, it will not get financed on the other platform.
Is there any limit applicability also per client? For example, if the client there's a limit on one trade platform, then client can go to second platform, third platform to increase that limit.
No, normally the same financiers are there, so they have a limited appetite on that particular corporate, or they have good appetite on all the corporates or whatever. So the MSME can go if the invoices are not financed on one particular platform. They can load the invoices on another platform also to see if it's upload already there on the platform. But normally we don't see that.
Okay. Now you were mentioning that if your invoice is getting discounted at one platform, then the other two platforms cannot discount that, and because of the data mechanism sharing you are doing through blockchain. Okay.
Correct.
Now, current suppose there is any invoice which has got rejected on your platform. What will happen? Can that MSME take that invoice to another platforms and get it discounted? At least can make an effort to discount it.
See, if it has got rejected, it might be the reason that there might be an insufficient limits, or it is not financed on the political platform. If it is not financed, then he is free to take the invoice on the other platform where if the limits are available, he can get it discounted.
Okay.
It does not get rejected. Rejected can happen only on two cases where
Hmm.
rejection happens where the buyer has not accepted the invoices, or the
Okay.
second case is where the buyer is accepted but the financier has not financed it.
Yeah, exactly. So suppose that Financer is not accepted on your platform, MSME can take it to other platforms, but chances you are saying would be very less because finances are typically same across all the platforms.
Correct.
So if corporate buyer defaults or delays in payment, what is the impact on the MSME seller?
See, as what we said, it's completely a without recourse program. There is no actually any. There is no impact on the seller in case the buyer defaults. So it's a buyer who gets reported to the SMA 0, SMA 1, and
Yeah,
all the default mechanism happens only for the buyer and nothing for the seller. Seller has
got
already
it.
got his money and it's converted into cash.
Got it. So because everything is linked to the buyer's credit, so the any impact which is going to happen is to the buyer.
Correct.
Now, what is the history of defaults and trades since you're operating since last, I think, 5 years now? What have you all come across as a percentage and absolute numbers?
In terms of percentage, I would say that look, whenever you talk about trade, I'm not talking of trades. So when you talk about trade, that whenever there's an underlying trade, the default rate is always less or always minimal. And the same thing we have seen it in the particularly for the trades exchanges also. In the last 3 years, last 5 years, from the time of inception, the three platforms would have crossed something like 70,000 crores, and hardly 350 crores to 400 crores would have got defaulted, and that too also 350 crores is to a large corporate which is in the process of getting paid. So apart from that, there is no major defaults which we have seen on the trades platform. Even during the COVID times, there were delays, but there were no defaults.
That's nice. So if I summarize this particular part, for any invoice which is coming on trades, the probability of getting financed is around 92 to 95%. So that's the benefit to what MSME gets. And from the perspective of defaults, which is related to the financiers, there's a very less percentage of default you have seen, which is hardly 300, 350 crore out of 70,000 crore over the last few years. So that's the benefit what financiers get.
Correct. In fact,
Okay.
it is the lowest default rate as compared to the normal defaults which they have in a normal loan process.
Yes, agreed. So now, if we talk about the industry numbers, so average MSME monthly turnover in India would be how much?
Even the government will not have the data of the monthly turnover for the MSME. Because MSME is a very vast area, in the sense you include a pan wala also as an MSME. What is seen is a credit gap, and the credit gap for MSMEs is running into billions of dollars. It is running as per the last IFC, 1,50,000 crores, or the data was there that that is the credit working capital, working capital gap which is there. I would say that that is the opportunity for the trades platform for financing.
Yes, right. But TReDS is not providing the entire credit gap, right, to MSME. They
Correct.
are only solving one part of it, which is related to discounting of certain bills.
Correct.
Because
Correct.
remaining of the credit gap will be taken care by the banks through their project loans or term loans or various working capital and other financings.
Correct.
You have captured a very small percentage of the market, right?
Yeah, so we have not even scratched the surface. When we are talking, when you're priding ourselves saying that, look, we are doing 1,500 crores per month. We have not even scratched the surface. I would like to say that, we'll be happy if we were to doing around 7 to 8,000 crores per month.
Geography wise, industry wise, is there something specifically your experience of last 5 years shows the major gap is there, which is like a most low hanging market or sector for you, or geographical location for you?
In fact, we have this 10,000 MSMEs which have been very well spread all across the country. So we have across all the geographies in India and across industries, we have more than 10,000 MSMEs. And these MSMEs come from some 750 cities in India, tier 2 or tier 3 cities or tier 1 cities also.
Okay.
And they come also from industries like, real estate, infra, oil, FMCG, pharma, textile. So almost every industry is covered now.
Could you share more about the recent like regulation, if any, have come up in the industry which is impacting RXIL or TReDS platform or the MSMEs?
So quite a few are there. So the Factoring Act has got amended. So Factoring Act also allows the NBFCs, which I've already covered in the earlier scenario, that Now the NBFCs also can come on the TReDS platform, which was not allowed earlier because only NBFC factors were allowed. So that will increase the liquidity on the TReDS platform. Then it also the NACH mandate, which was earlier for only 1 crore, now that has got extended to 3 crores. So that means the MSMEs don't have to break their invoices for the goods they're supplying. Plus, there is something which is worked out between IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority, where they have allowed insurance to come on the TReDS platform on a digital discounting platform like TReDS. So we are working. We've already done the sandbox testing on how can the insurance as a product can work on the platform. Where then that means it gives additional security to the financier to go to the lower rated corporates also. So we are working with RBI to see how the credit insurance can come on the TReDS platform, where the financiers can take risk on the buyers which are low rated and allow the transaction. So that is also can give additional liquidity to the TReDS platform, and at the same time it can give liquidity to the MSMEs who normally don't get financed on the TReDS platform.
So, as of now, at present, which credit rating corporates get financed on TReDS platform? Which are the financier's favorite? AAA to lowest below which rating?
Up to triple B, triple B also. See, it goes on reducing. So the appetite goes on reducing. So up to triple B plus, triple B plus the MS, the finances are quite come.
Okay. So, if your credit insurance, trade credit insurance starts now, so in that case, your triple B market will open up to come on TReDS.
Correct. Correct.
And I think that would be a very big opportunity because a lot of MSMEs would be supplying to this market.
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. So again, yeah. So again, it's something new. Credit insurance is something new. It was there earlier in the 10 years back, but it was stopped, and now it is again started. And but we also have to keep it in mind that look, when you outside the country, outside India, insurance is taken as one of the major factor for promoting trade.
Yeah.
Because when let's say if I'm supplying to you, and if I don't know you, and but some insurance company is ready to take a call on you, then I'll rely on that insurance and supply to you. So that's how it happens. So here also the same scenario we're working on. So let's see, we have already done the sandbox testing, and we're waiting for RBI to come out with the guidelines on coming, getting the insurance company as a fourth participant on the TReDS platform.
Okay, so maybe 6 months to 1 year
Yeah,
plus.
correct.
Very nice. So now you had also mentioned about the Factoring Regulation Act amendment, which allows NBFCs on the TReDS platform. Could you just throw some more light on this particular point? That what change it is going to bring from the financier's perspective and MSME's perspective, and how many new financiers you are expecting to come on your platform?
See, earlier, as per the TReDS guidelines, only the NBFC factors would come on the TReDS platform. Now, with the guidelines or the Factoring Act getting amended, the NBFCs also can come on the platform. So, what does it mean? So, that means there might be certain NBFCs. There are banks which are taking only limited risk on the particular corporate. So, with these NBFCs coming in, there are NBFCs which are specialized into special sectors. So there might be an NBFC which is very comfortable with the building infrastructure, or there might be certain NBFCs which might be very comfortable with medical supplies, or auto sector. So these are the NBFCs which will come on the TReDS platform, and they know the business in and out. So they are willing to take the risk on the lower rated corporates also. The pricing will definitely be higher, but at the same time, they are willing to take the risk for the lower rated corporates. So that's what we're seeing, that that this will increase the liquidity on the TReDS platform for lower rated corporates. As a result of this new regulation, how many NBFCs will come in? As per the new RBI guidelines, which have come in effect for the Factoring Act amendment, 182 NBFCs are eligible now as per the guidelines, and they will come, and they have to apply to RBI for a certificate of registration. And once they have applied for the certificate of registration, then they can come and start doing the factoring business, or they can come on the TReDS platform also.
Okay, so are we seeing a very big number out of this 180?
They have to apply. So we are seeing increased response. So they have to apply, and they have to take the certificate. So RBI also has given guidelines. So for that particular
Mhm.
criteria also, that they have to be non depositing taking in NBFC, then they have to have the net owned funds of 5 crores, and their minimum asset base should be 1,000 crores and above. So then they have to apply for. So these three criteria.
There is a possibility that 50 plus NBFCs can come on your platforms.
Correct. Correct.
But that will also depend on whether they are ready to do this product or not, because it's also about the cost of their borrowing.
Correct.
So, Ketan, this change you are practically seeing to come into reality in how many months?
See, the Factoring Act got amended in 2021 September. RBI came out with the guidelines now in January, and now I would say that it will take another 3-4 months to for the NBFCs, because see, NBFCs also have to go back to the drawing board and decide whether they want to come on the platform, or whether they have to apply for the car certificate of registration. Then I would say I would give it another 2-3 months for them to envision that they have to go, or some NBFCs have already gone for the certificate of registration.
So maybe 6 to 8 months, you will start seeing more NBFCs getting registered on the TReDS platform.
Correct.
And if we see their product alignment, costing, and approval, so at least out of 180, 20, 25 should able to think through to come out on your platforms, hopefully.
You're bang on.
Okay. One of the another update which you gave is about a NASH mandate, which is 3 crore limit. And I'm sure you guys are trying to push for much higher limits also. And
Yeah, ideal scenario is 5 crores, but RBI
okay.
decided that 3 crores. So we are waiting for So let's see, but we'll go ahead with 3 crores now
Okay.
and see how it is working. And then what we see is that the regulator is quite tracking the progress, and they are also amenable for changes.
Got it. So now there's, in a sense, we call it your platform as a marketplace where you are
Correct.
bringing the financiers, you are bringing the sellers, and you are bringing the buyers.
Correct.
Now, there would be similar players in the market, in the lending market, making up a marketplace for you over for
Correct.
similar product. You have a support of government institutions, scheduled banks, SIDBI, ICICI Bank, State Bank, RBI, and all those things. But those will be the people who will be private sector, maybe. Okay,
Unregulated.
unregulated. So, would you call them unregulated?
As of now, yes. As for
But
the digital
why? Why
lending,
are they not for? Are they not governed by RBI regulation?
I would not say so.
Okay.
So why am I saying I'm unregulated? In the sense, we are a regulated entity, we get inspected by RBI, and we are governed by the RBI certificate of authorization, which is given. These
Okay.
platforms do not have. So I would say that is what
Okay.
we are. That
Okay.
is what we are. But now the latest guidelines on digital lending is
Yeah.
also being worked upon, under which the RBI is trying to get all the unregulated entities under that ambit.
Okay. So you're saying the marketplace which are existing in private sector, who are also doing the similar kind of job of bringing the financiers and the buyers and the sellers on the platform, they have to come under the regulatory aspect once the RBI comes up with the regulation. But who are these players? Can you share some of the names, other platforms who are into a similar kind of work which they are doing it?
Look, you would hear about the CredX, TradeCred, Lending Card, Cashflow. So these are the companies which are there.
So are they doing it themselves as discounting, or they are just a marketplace?
I would say they are a marketplace where they do see, for example, tomorrow you might have some excess cash
Mm-hmm.
and you want to deploy that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what some of the platforms are doing. That they have, and they will say, okay, fine, you have an invoice of a particular company which needs to be financed. Now the supplier has come and given those invoices, that then it needs to be discounted. So if you are assured a return of 10%, 12%,
Mm-hmm.
you would want to go and take the risk on that particular corporate.
Okay, okay. So you are saying they are also giving opportunity to HNI investors to invest in the invoice discounting product is one of the investment.
Correct. At the same time, there might be banks also would
Yes,
be.
and banks also HNIs depending on the risk who wants to take how much. Okay,
Correct.
that is, yeah, that's one of the things. So maybe the market which is related to triple B and below market, would be using all these platforms to get their invoices discounted through the financiers, which are in form of HNIs or ultra HNIs or other investors, or maybe some other NBFCs who would be willing to take that kind of a risk.
Correct.
Okay, so now tell me, are these marketplaces have the same options available related to you, like Nash 45 days guideline of doing a debit and those kind of benefits?
I don't think, but yeah, but I think they take a debit authority from the corporate, or the corporate
They
pays out on the due date.
Okay. And what about the Duke, which is blockchain method of using?
I don't think that's there.
You three platforms are working in a way that you have information floating, right? There's a transparency is there, which actually solves a very big problem of any frauds happening.
Correct.
Now, these platforms are working on isolation, or they have also developed some kind of check.
See, they will have the inbuilt mechanism of risk over there also. That look, there are digitally, there are many available options. That today, if an invoice is generated, there is an e-way bill also which is generated.
Mhm.
Whether I can do the checking based on that also, it is possible. So there is a possibility that they might be employing high-end techniques over there also.
Any other entity which is doing similar marketplace thing, clients who are doing exports?
So clients who are doing exports, there are entities like SBI Factors. Then you have India Factoring Company. For exports, they are doing that. But it's bilateral. It's not platform. And
Okay.
the same thing you would talk about Volofin, Drip Capital. These
Okay.
are the companies which are actually going and doing the financing. But it's a bilateral financing in the sense they do the financing. It's not a
Yes,
platform.
yes,
It's not an
exactly. So
exchange.
they are the lender for invoice
They are the
discounting
lenders.
for
Absolutely.
exporters.
Yeah, but the one which we are coming on the in the IT IFSC will be something similar to TReDS, where we will have the banks, multiple banks, which will again go for bidding.
Yeah, so basically that would be a marketplace.
Yeah,
Place so where in fact these players like Drip or TReDS or 36, the names which you gave,
can
would
also come.
be can also come as a financiers there.
Correct.
So, in fact, Ketan, pretty interesting episode we had, and we learned a lot of new things from you for our listeners on invoice discounting, and I'm sure some of them will make use of it. Now, going towards the last section of our episode, we would love to learn from you long term guiding principles for our entrepreneurs.
See, I will keep it. I will say that look, I have been following this MSMEs quite and MSME world. So I would say that first of all, it's very important that you select your buyers very well. You have to be very clear on the buyer. It necessarily need not be a top end name, because these many of the times what happens is sometimes these are the people who don't pay on time. They take advantage of the fact that they're at a very high place from the supplier. So it's very important for the supplier or the MSME. I'm talking from the MSME world, that they do their receivables management very promptly, because most of the MSMEs end up winding up their operations because of that. That if they did not receive their payment on time and there is no receivables, then they end up winding up the businesses. They have to write it off. It's a loss scenario. Then I would say that they have to keep the channel open with the buyers. I'm looking at it again from the buyer's perspective. They have to keep the channel open with the buyers to see whether they are willing to come on the TReDS platform, a platform like TReDS, where where they can come, they can get the bills discounted, and they get the money, and that's how they will look at it. And the third one is always about continuous improvement. That innovation, continuous improvement. Look out what is happening. Look out what kind of digital platforms are coming over here. Because look, I have been an international trade finance guy. We have been I have been prior to my current avatar, we have been working on export import financing. But export import financing is very staid and very very logic, very, I would say that it's completely document focused. But when you look at trades, it's completely digital. And this kind of platform is not there anywhere. So it is very important for the MSMEs or the startup entrepreneurs to ensure what kind of funding options are available for them. So that is also continuous improvement for them. Rather than going to a bank, is there option available for me to go to a digital company where I can get the payment faster enough? And that's what I would say, that look, It will be financial management, which is the receivables management, which is very important, because that is also important, that led to the death of many corporates or startups. Second one is keep the channel open with the buyers to see whether they are willing to come on any platform, like a digital platform, where they can get money, and continuous improvement in this financial space, I would say.
Great. So, very logical points for the MSMEs. Now, from the short term perspective, could you share some hacks or short term trip?
See, India has got the best digital infrastructure, I would say, compared to anywhere in the world. So, my hack would be simple, that when you are starting up a business, please ensure that it's completely official. That means, you enroll with GSTN, and I would say go digital completely, because you need to create a digital entity for yourself. And that creating of the digital entity for yourself, I'm not talking about marketing or anything, I'm talking about financial digital entity, because once you are digitally available, all your digital records makes it very simpler for the lenders to give money to you. The finance is very easily available now if you have a digital record. And that is where most of the entrepreneurs make a mistake, that I don't have to get registered, because that is how I can save money in GSTN and all that. And I would say the third one would be, again, the same thing, that get enrolled for the digital or the government schemes which are available, because the government is doing a lot in the startup entry or the MSM for the MSME. So that's very important for them to do it. So going digital is the most important thing, because we have a very nice API structure in India, that kind of, we say API layers which we have. And those layers are very important, because over a period of 3-4 years, India will be much, much ahead of all the developed countries at all. When you saw that, you would have seen it in your WhatsApp messages also, when India, when you go for a vaccination, you get a certificate which is by MSM, by WhatsApp, you get a message that this is your certificate. And when you look at UK or US, that you get a card which is signed by manually, physically, whatever. So we are very much ahead. And our UPI is getting replicated in US, or the thought process is there. So we are very much ahead. So I feel that it's very important that we have to go digital, be it getting your ERPs digital, be it going digital completely, creating a digital entity for yourself, and
Got it.
and plus getting involved into GST and altogether.
Yes.
That is something which we don't do if you are a small entity.
So first of all, it will take time to gradually, taking over awareness where people are trying to learn, because we do have a parallel economy running,
Yeah,
and we have to. Everyone tries to, learn how to, avoid that parallel,
tax.
the formal economy, and make benefit of parallel economy. Yes, that's a great, So, Ketan, it was really interesting to have you on our show. Thank you so much, and to sharing your knowledge. And I would definitely love to catch up again on some interesting thing related to updates, what is going to come for TReDS in next couple of months.
It has been wonderful. In fact, you're doing a great. This is something which we never envisaged, and I think it has a visibility that it can reach out to many people, and that's what I'm looking forward for. Because trends is something which the corporates and the MSMEs have to embrace it fast. Thank you, Dripti. I mean, it's been a wonderful session with you. So thank you. Thanks a lot again, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you so much, Ketan.
Thank you, Dripti.
Through this episode, I hope you would have got some answers to your queries and guidance for way forward. Do share your learnings from the episode, your feedbacks and suggestions. If you are an entrepreneur and have questions from experts, or any particular topic or profile of expert you want to hear, or if you are an industry expert with MSME as a target audience, do reach out to us. Our link is given in the description. And at last, please do subscribe for MSME Talk podcast, and don't forget to share the podcast link with your friends, family and network. Take care. Goodbye. Happy to share MSME Talk podcast enters peak ranking chart of 10th country in the Apple Podcast country level entrepreneurship category. If you are an expert or provide product or services to small businesses, MSMEs and startups, reach out to us to discuss showcase opportunity in MSME Talk. Contact details given in description.